Okay, here we are with guest number 2, Craig Calfee. Craig's a guy a little bit outside the realm of stuff, like in terms of like this whole motorcycle fixation we can't seem to get rid of, but he does have a little bit of it. But just on a personal note, this is a guy, like if everyone saw the movie with Russell Crowe, A Beautiful Mind, this is the guy who, to me, nothing against you, KB, you're beautiful, but A Beautiful Mind, and I've had a boy crush on this guy ever since I met him. In terms of just every time I talk to him, he just takes me to a different place mentally and philosophically, spiritually, because he's got one of the most interesting life stories. And it just, in terms of the way he thinks about the bicycle and the things he'll come up with just an answer to a question. It'll blow my mind because it's like so non-bicycle centric thinking, you know. And eventually, but carbon, you know. And then again, this is part of, you know, we brought Calfee into it because, again, as we started, you know, was with everybody, it was like this whole kind of Greg LeMond thing, and we'll get to it. But I mean, even beyond that, you know, the bike industry right now, as we're all enjoying this, you know, the fixation of, you know, carbon fiber, and as far as I'm concerned, O and the motherfucking G for carbon fiber right there. And this is an example of it, which is ghastly to look at, you know, and you look at it, you just think, look at me like, what's wrong with it? I don't know, I think it looks fine. But, you know, this is like this earliest carbon fiber bike, all carbon. He made it himself, you know, and you know, so many times like the Look bikes get, you know, credited for being the carbon bikes, and there's others, but, you know, they had aluminum lugs, titanium lugs, steel lugs, whatever. But this is all carbon, and from this kind of wretched looking thing, sorry, became this beautiful creation, and then even more, you know, in the Calfee catalog today, just still quintessentially some of the most beautiful carbon fiber bikes. And with every bike is a story behind it for his engineering in terms of what he's trying to advance for the person riding the bike. And then of course there's a whole bamboo story as well, which just takes this whole concept of bicycles to me on a human level, and in terms of humanity and what he's trying to do with building bikes in Africa to a higher level where all bicycles really should be. So, Craig Calfee, welcome.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, sure, yeah, great. So just real quickly, just get the dates and the history. Mid-'80s, you were working for an outrigger company with carbon fiber.
Yeah, I was working for composite engineering,
Yeah.
making rowing shells and flatwater kayaks. And these are high-performance boats racing in the Olympics. We even got gold medals in the '88 Olympics on the kayaks that we shaped and built for the athletes, for the Olympic Committee. And during that time, while I was working in the shop, I was in charge of braiding tubes. So I was literally making my own carbon tubing on a 72 carrier braider. And you'd sit at this braider, and it's kind of a boring job. You're just monitoring a machine and pulling caterpillars out of it and making sure everything's working. But I was also fascinated with making the tubes faster and better and how you could orient the fiber. I mean, I was kind of spacing out and geeking out on fiber orientation. So I also thought at the time, I was riding a Schwinn Varsity and enjoyed riding to work. I didn't have a car at the time. I was art school dropout, just trying to make my way in the world. But I thought it'd be great to make a bike out of this stuff sometime. I just was there for a year and a half, and then I had an incredible dramatic crash on the Schwinn Varsity, and I actually bent the frame such that it was unrideable. And if you know a Schwinn Varsity, you know how hard it is. And that's, if anyone wants to hear a crash story, I got that one for you. But this was, all this really was I needed a bike for myself. I had no dreams of making a bike company or getting Greg LeMond to race on it or anything. I wanted to try to build a bike out of this weird material. And so I didn't spend a lot of time making it pretty, I just wanted it to be functional. And I was using a compression molding method, using metal dies. In this case, they were plastic because I didn't have metalworking tools to use. I used a wood spade bit on plastic blocks to make the molds. It's very rough, but it worked. I ended up using it myself, and then I had my girlfriend's brother, who was bigger than I, actually fit it better because I built a little too big, because the Schwinn Varsity it replaced also had a high top tube. And when I was a bike messenger in New York, I liked the high top tube because you'd sit on it at stoplights.
Yeah.
And you'd take your wear off because your butt gets sore after 8 hours of riding. So, but it fit him better, and he was also a courier in Boston. And he was quite big, so he was testing it, and he did actually wear a helmet too, which was kind of interesting. It was unusual. This is in the late 80s.
Yeah.
So people didn't wear helmets, but he did. Because he wasn't sure the bike was safe. So,
Go figure.
you know, it was like pretty experimental. And he tested it, I tested it, I took it out in the woods. I had a little bit bigger tires, and I took it like a cyclocross bike. So I was really kind of trying to break it.
Did you wear a cup too?
No, no cups involved. Just really trying to break it, and it didn't break. But the thing that really impressed people when I showed it to bike racers is you can, you know, pick it up with one finger.
A little bit lighter than the varsity.
Yeah, so that was the most impressive thing about it that people were shocked with. And I got a lot of encouragement to go ahead and go into the bike business. I'm really onto something. So I decided to quit my job. Well, first I offered to start building bikes with my boss, who helped coach me on how to build this.
Yeah.
And he was too busy with the Olympic Committee contract. So, and I also asked for a raise. I wanted $10 an hour, and because I was literally doing everything in the shop. I loved working with carbon fiber, and I came up with new innovations for the boats. Came up with a bike. First carbon fork, first carbon stem, first carbon seat post. I was just going wild with this, falling in love with the material. And
Just real quick, just make sure, date about what, 80?
87, 88.
Yeah.
So in 88, I quit the job and decided to move to California, where the weather's better for cycling year round. And I thought if I was going to start a bike company, California is the place to be. So I moved to San Francisco, got a loan from my mom, who didn't have any extra money. She had to mortgage the farm, so literally put the farm up as collateral, and for $10,000. And I had metal molds made this time, so had a machinist who became a mentor as well. He really got enamored with what I was trying to do, so he helped me. I learned a lot about machining from him. And then built some prototypes that were pretty much that level of finish. And we were watching just to transition, I could go on, just interrupt anytime you want, because I'll just spin it out.
Eric, can you get fetch that photo out there?
Oh yeah, the one with Greg on it.
Yeah.
So during the 1990 tour, when he won this right after 89, he won in 90, we were watching the tour, my production guys, and we were all, and he was riding the carbon tube aluminum lug bikes, and we were poo-pooing those because we'd seen them breaking and coming unglued, and we knew about galvanic corrosion.
Yeah.
And we said, our bikes are good enough to ride in the tour. Like, we just had that pride and knowledge and confidence that our bikes are better than what they're riding in the tour. Like, we literally had something better than what Greg LeMond was riding. And we thought, oh, he's got a contract with a bike sponsor, and you know, how can you possibly get Greg LeMond to ride on your bike? I mean, we're just a garage south of Market, San Francisco. I mean, just
Bunch of hippies.
yeah, 5 or 6 guys and a gal, and it was like a dream to try to get him to. Oh yeah, that guy there. Yeah. So anyway, JP Pascal, the Time Pedals rep, stumbled into our shop one day and said, "Oh my God, you need to send one of these bikes to Greg's dad in Reno to just look at. Do you have any frames I can send him?" I said, "Well, yeah, here's one." And so he sent it to Bob. Bob calls me up the next day because he overnighted it to Reno. He said, "Yeah, we'd like you to build one for Greg LeMond, for Greg to test out." I said, "Oh, awesome. Like, sure." because they were actually having trouble with those bikes, and they couldn't supply enough of them, and there was issues with the bikes they were riding. So we built one bike, this one right here, and we built that in 2 days, and Ed Litton painted it in 3 days, and it was super exciting to ship this off and have it get sent to France, and kind of the rest is history at that point.
What was that history about Paris-Nice?
Yeah, so that's a whole nother story. It arrives at the service course, and the head tube ended up being too long for Greg. He actually runs a much shorter head tube. So they didn't tell us his head tube length, so we just built kind of a standard one. But he said, I'll race it at the last stage of Paris-Nice in the uphill time trial. And he's not wearing a helmet there because it's an uphill ride. And so he takes it for a spin, or takes it for a race. He's racing, although he's not positioned to win it. He was like 7th or 8th place at that time. So he tested out for climbing, because all the carbon bikes that he ever rode were too flexy. He just didn't. That was the worst part about it. And so he really liked how stiff it was. I was at the top of the hill with Julian de Vries as mechanic. I rode in the team car up to the top with him, and we were waiting for Greg. He comes up, finishes his race. He comes over, and he's just like, "That is the best climbing bike I've ever been on." He was just gushing about how great it was.
Yeah.
And so I was all happy, and then he's like, "And in fact, but I want to see how it descends. So I'm going to take it down the mountain, and I'll meet you guys at the hotel, all right?" And Julian is like, "Is this bike safe? Are we going to lose the current reigning world champion, reigning 3-time Tour de France winner on the backside of the mountain back?" It's like, he was really nervous. And Greg's like, "Don't worry about it. I got this. Don't worry. I'll see you guys at the hotel." And Julian was just silent. He was just he's kind of an angry old school mechanic. He's Eddie Merckx' old mechanic. Angry. Tough guy to work with, but once you're on his good side, he's great. Anyway, so we're waiting at the hotel, and Greg rolls up on it, and he's just got this huge smile on his face. He says, "It's not only the best climbing bike I've ever ridden, it's the best descending bike as well. I carved those corners so tight. This is it. We need 18 of them for each member of the team. So measure every bike, every of the team bikes like yourself, and get to work, because we need them for the tour." So I was like, "All right, I guess I'm going to be busy for a while." And Julian was like, "All right, you got it made now, because when Greg says he wants it, it just goes."
Did they buy them?
Yeah, they paid for them, actually. Yeah, we gave him a deal. It was a good deal, but we didn't lose money, that's for sure. But definitely, he out. And so then it was convincing the rest of the teammates to ride the bike. And the guy, this is a quick story, but Johan Lammerts his nickname is L'autobus, the bus. Mm-hmm. He's the biggest guy in the peloton, and it was the biggest bike we built at that time. And he got it, and when I heard this story from Greg, actually. Johan picks up the bike, he's like, "It's too light, I'm going to break it." He's like, "No, come on, Johan, just try it, please. It's a Le Mans sponsored bike." He's like, "I'll be back in a few minutes." And he gets on the bike, and he goes out and he starts sprinting on it, and he's just really working the frame, and he goes out, comes back quite a bit later, he goes, "This is amazing. Wow. I can't believe this bike. It's just so light and stiff." So Johan ended up convincing the rest of the team that it was a good enough bike for them to race, because it just felt too light. They couldn't believe how light it was.
Yeah. So for the sake of kind of going back to what Rick and I, the seed of this whole thing, talked about Santa Cruz, and just for the sake of it, you did, when we're talking about stuff, you did mention like you knew about Kestrel, because Kestrel's also in Watsonville. So just in terms of like, there was another carbon fiber bike brand, and like, what was that like? That was at the time, like, what was that like with? I mean, because no one was doing carbon fiber. Soon we had like some carbon fiber bikes. I just saw a thing. Scott and Cole had carbon fiber bike, but of course it was with metal lugs, you know, and even Specialized had the Epic, then later on metal lugs, titanium lugs, whatever, but this was of its own variety.
Yeah, this allowed us to do custom geometry.
Yeah.
And that's what Greg needed. Greg actually tried a Kestrel, but they couldn't do a custom frame for him.
Cheers. Huh. What was your sense in the industry? I mean, because now now it's like someone mentions aluminum or steel and we kind of scoff like, what is that? You know, but I mean, I'm guessing back in late '80s, for you to mention carbon fiber in the way it was probably like the same thing, like carbon fiber, like that's 20 years early before its time.
It's a little bit like how some people look at e-bikes. They scoff at the old man bike or the whatever, the geriatric, whatever. There's this attitude about it, and back then it was like, oh, what are you riding a plastic bike for? It's just so the plastic bike thing was that hung around. But in '91, after Greg was giving us publicity about carbon, I got interviewed in Bicycling magazine, and I said, all the bikes in the Tour de France will be made of carbon fiber. And 9 years later, it actually did happen.
Yeah. And it's like one of the big kind of like the ironies of Calfee to me is like, so again, he has this whole thing with Greg LeMond, Tour de France. I mean, the Tour de France, it's the apogee of everything. And then, the thing that I get so misty-eyed about is when he introduces the bamboo bikes, and his story about going through Africa. And you can tell that story real quickly, but just like one quick aside, I remember when I was at Road Bike Action, a magazine I was at, and I had one of his road bikes there, a bamboo road bike. And I remember the day, like, of all people, Gary Fisher came by to visit, and he's like looking at the bike, and typical Fisher, right? First thing he does, he's like, what does it weigh? And I'm just like, Gary, that's not the point. It's not, it's just like, stop being the bike dork like that, and that's where again, the magic of Calfee to me is he's just like he so quickly and ably and capably goes beyond being a bike dork and does this whole African thing, which is you're like a bicycle missionary to me, in terms of what you've done. Mm-hmm. And he tells a story about these people that, would take them 5 days to get from one place to the other to go fetch water or something. And then all of a sudden the bicycle, thanks to him, the bicycle, I mean, it's just how you're changing lives. So what was the base of the Congo, and then it became,
so I went to Pratt Institute in New York, and I was there for 3 years, and I decided I needed content for my art. I was a sculpture major. And so I decided to go traveling for a year. I'm out of here. I want to go see the world. I'd never actually been out in the world aside from just college dorms, So I started hitchhiking around Europe during the summer, and then I ended up on a boat in Greece, a sailboat, because I used to sail. And I ended up in East Africa, and then crossed Central Africa, and got on a freighter and went to Brazil. And so that whole year of travel, which, by the way, I wrote a book about, which I have some copies if anyone's interested. I wrote this book about that whole trip based on letters I wrote to my mom. And I was treated so well in Africa. I just had this affinity. The people of Africa, especially in the most remote areas, you can see what they need. And as a designer, as an engineer, I'm intrigued by solving problems, and they have so many problems to solve. So you kind of think, what would be the best thing here? And bicycles, they use bikes a lot, and they have a lot of bamboo. I thought, well, why not bamboo bikes in Africa? Just seems like a good fit. And so I got some help with Columbia University. We did a feasibility study in Ghana. And we went out there and taught people how to build bamboo bikes, and like bamboo, it just spread from there. It's now in, I think, 7 countries in Africa and 4 in Asia. I've been to Africa dozens of times. Recently was in Gabon last fall, did a project there. But yeah, all over the place. Just like the way bamboo spreads, the idea of a locally grown bamboo bike to solve transport issues in Africa. It just touched a nerve with people who want to spend money on supporting that project, so not too hard to get funded for that. And it's something I really enjoy doing.
Yeah, and they're doing it there, I mean, in places.
Yeah, there's a factory in Ghana now, shipping bikes to Europe by the container load.
Of their
So-
own, or are they Calfee, or like?
No, they're their own
Yeah,
brand.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I teach them about business a little bit, sourcing. I've sourced parts from Taiwan for them.
Yeah.
I work the whole angle because it takes a lot of angles to build a bike.
Is there any comparison between bamboo and carbon in terms of building or designing a frame?
The vibration damping is the biggest feature that they both share. They're really cool that way. The fact that you can mold carbon tubing, make carbon tubing in any dimension you want with a much less expensively than metal tubing. Bamboo, you can go grow whatever dimension and wall thickness you want. So that's the accessibility for a designer of whatever diameter wall thickness you want is really great.
Is it like, I remember talking to another guy who was doing his own bamboo bikes, and he would like talk about going to a bamboo farm and sort, kind of like, kind of doing flicking in terms of wall thickness.
Yeah,
and
picking out your bamboo.
Outside, and
It's
all
one of my
different types of bamboo.
Yeah, it's my favorite activity. Go bamboo hunting. Yeah.
Well, there it is. See, there it is.
Greg, I thought that the bamboo came from your dog outside of your shop.
Well, that was the first bamboo bike. Yeah, that's how I kind of got inspired to build, to realize that bamboo was tough enough for a bike. I was basically at Interbike, probably talking to you at some point at one of the booths, and people would bring weird bikes made of weird materials, like beer cans. Who was it? Brew bike. Somebody made a beer can bike. You've seen them. So I was like, oh, I got to do that too to just get attention for my bikes. So I thought, what weird material can I build a bike out of? And I thought, how about bamboo? I mean, long story short, I was playing stick with my dog, and she was a pit bull lab mix, and she clamped down on this piece of bamboo, and I would swing her around, the way you can with pit bulls. And it wouldn't break. I was expecting it to just snap in her mouth and maybe give her splinters or something. But it didn't break. I mean, even with teeth marks gouging into it, which is, carbon is sensitive it's notch sensitive is the term. So it's not notch sensitive. So it's like, even with a big old gouge in it, it still doesn't break. So that just kind of gave me the idea that it is strong enough for a bike. They had built them back in the late 1800s, so why not?
Yeah.
What's the problem?
Yeah.
So coming up with the fiber wrapping method, the challenge was the joining of the bamboo, not the bamboo itself.
Right.
So I built one for Interbike and got tons of attention, and the bike actually rode rather well. It was a little flexy because I didn't have access to bigger diameter bamboo. So the second bamboo bike I built was awesome, and just kind of went from there.
Yeah. So just kind of wrapping up and taking us back to again where I was starting, what is it about the bicycle in typical Calfee fashion when we're talking about it one time? I may have even asked him the question, and I remember what you said is what is it about the bicycle? And you said it's like this, wonderfully reliable, simple thing, and he said something to the effect just look how many bicycles are stolen every year. That's the answer right there about how great a bicycle is, because so many of them are stolen, and of course I'm on the phone, I'm like, oh my God, there's another fucking Calfeeism, I'm just like, awesome.
It's true, yeah. No, they're the most stolen item you can imagine, aren't they? So that's got to be a pretty good thing.
And there you have it. Are there any questions for Craig Calfee, the godfather of carbon fiber bicycles?
Where do you think the future is in frame materials?
Bamboo, yeah. Carbon's great. I love it, of course. But from a sustainability perspective, bamboo is so close in terms of performance and function that for the average person, bamboo is perfectly suitable. We're developing a bamboo cargo bike, electric assist, so even if it's a little heavier, who cares? There's so many great things about it. It's just we're, again, ahead of our time. And as we look around and see how we're, consuming energy and polluting the air and the water, it's nice to come up with something useful that grows out of the ground. So that's my take on it.
Yeah.
Andrew?
So many brands started building carbon bikes here in the U.S., whether it's Allied or Harley or even Trek and Specialized. What was your process in continuing to be successful in domestic production, and did you ever consider going offshore?
We looked at going offshore many years ago, but so many other people were doing it. And the Made in USA thing seemed like a good idea, but I was proved wrong when Kestrel, went offshore, and then the brand pretty much evaporated. I thought, oh, great, our main competitor is going to China. And so the Made in USA folks are going to come flocking to me. No, they didn't. We didn't see a big increase in sales after that. So that wasn't a big thing. The main thing, though, was being able to do custom and being agile in developing new products and as quickly as possible, and develop bar stems and all kinds of other stuff. So I just liked having the production here and to be super quick. We came up with a UDH derailleur hanger dropout like within a week of it showing up, like no problem. So through axle, no problem. Boom, done. So electronic shifting, internal wiring, all that stuff. We were pretty much right on it. So
Today, do people come to you because they know you're still built in the U.S. or California?
Some people do. There's a certain element of that, but that's not a big factor.
But just to bring it back to Lamond, this morning he told me a story, because I always make fun of him, because every time I'll ask him about bike stuff, he starts talking about tandems. I'm like, tandems? God, who cares? Like, it's like trials bikes and tandems. Who cares? Lo and behold, so he starts talking about, and he just got the biggest order from someone in Kazakhstan to buy 10 bikes. 10 bikes.
5 road bikes and 5 track bikes.
Yeah, carbon fiber, and he says it's the biggest order he had since Greg LeMond's order. And so it's just like
single order from a single team, yeah.
So
What does that have to do with tandems?
They're all tandem bikes.
Tandems.
Yeah, 10 tandems, high-end ones. These are like Dura-Ace, money's no object.
Sweet.
full circle.
Yeah, here we are. And that was this morning.
Yeah,
I got that.
He just closed the deal this
like,
morning.
what? Okay, cool.
Can you pay for my well repair?
Yeah, help you out there.
There's another question.
During COVID, you guilted me into building a bamboo bike, and I will forgive you for that, and I really enjoy that bike. But coming back to your idea about the wrapping, you said the hard part was wrapping it. I wanted to hear the different materials you used, because you ended up with hemp, or that's what I was using on mine that you suggested. And also you were using epoxy that was, you could work on without any mask.
Yeah, we're using hemp fiber instead of carbon for the hand wrap parts, and we use a plant-based epoxy. So it's really 100% plant-based and fully biodegradable.
Nice.
And you do have a kit for that? And could you sell any of us bamboo?
Yeah, we kind of tapered off on the kits, but we did for a while do a kit where you could
DIY.
build your own bamboo bike. Now we do it, our tooling is a little higher level, so it's more for groups, a little more expensive kit, and then you have to source your own bamboo.
Right.
So we still do it, but just on a sort of larger scale.
Okay. Anyways, that's it for the Craig Calfee chapter. Thank you very much. Awesome as always.
Thank you.